As I get ready for bed, I submit for your consideration that the original Dragon Ball Z, shoutouts to Toriyama, is actually superior to Z Kai. First of all, let's talk about the differences. I grew up on Z, right? And so I'm trying to remove my bias from the equation for a moment. Dragon Ball Z Kai was a great effort at condensing the series. Reduced it to, I believe, 100 episodes or so, as opposed to 250 plus that Dragon Ball Z finished out with. A lot of people point to Kai as being the superior incarnation. One of the big complaints and the whole reason for Kai's existence is that it felt like there was a lot of, quote, filler in Dragon Ball Z, but this is only depending upon your definition of filler. So I want to reframe how we've looked at Dragon Ball Z to begin with and change how we think about things. Kai did a great job. It does in 3 episodes, especially in the early ones. I'm using those as the comparison, like, basis point. It does in 3 episodes what Z does in like 5 episodes. It takes about 5 episodes for the first main story point to play out. If you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z at this point, you're fucked. There is no saving you. Or you're just too young and haven't been introduced to it. But for those who don't know, the initial part of the Z story begins like this. Goku's brother Raditz comes to town and he's like gonna fuck shit up, right? And Goku's like, nah, dude, we ain't having that shit. Piccolo's like, okay, I'll help you out because this guy seems a little bit extra. And it's a tough ass fight. Goku and Piccolo go at it with Raditz. And then mid fight, after beating the fuck out of the two, Gohan comes out of nowhere and busts a smash into Raditz's armor. Raditz gets pissed, knocks Gohan around, almost threatens to kill him. Goku comes up, grabs him from the back. Piccolo smashes him with the special beam cannon. Makasenpo. And forgive me if I butchered that or if I got that incorrect. And then Goku dies, and Raditz dies also, but Goku's given the opportunity to run the Snake Way, get to King Kai's place, and do some special training while he's dead in the afterlife in order to prepare for the Zains who are going to arrive 1 year later, right? And during that year, Goku's friends on Earth go around and gather Dragon Balls. So, checkmarking at Raditz and Goku's death, right? That's like the first 5 episodes of Z. Kai pulls that shit off in like 3, which is pretty good. Very condensed. But I noticed something about the direction when I decided, I've been rewatching Z lately, so I wanted to go compare Kai to it side by side. And because I remembered enjoying Kai when I went through it. But when I went through Kai, it had already been like a decade since I had actually, gone through Z. And rewatching Kai after rewatching some of Z, I got this distinct feeling that something was off. Something about the direction felt wrong. And I went back and forth. And I realized, oh, fuck. Z is actually the superior incarnation. It was the original all along. And a lot of this has to do with the flavor and subtlety of the direction style. A lot of it's not actually filler. And perhaps this changes as the series goes on, of course. There's more and more emphasis on the fighting aspects, right? But even in the early fight with Raditz, even then, there's a lot of subtlety that gets lost in translation when Kai attempts to reproduce the same scenes. Certain smirks, certain shifts of the eye, certain grimaces or grins. The different scenes of nature that are interwoven in the fights as kind of like a backdrop towards the action that's about to go on. You know, they'll do little still shots of like bugs sitting on leaves and birds and shit like that. And a lot of that plays into the dramatic like the building of excitement, right? It really brings things to a swelling point. And when the fights actually occur, there's a lot of and that's what I was initially thinking about. This is what prompted this exploration, was me remembering how enthralled I was with the fights as a kid. And a lot of it is kind of creative animation techniques being stitched together. For its time, it was actually what they were able to pull off for the budget was actually quite amazing. Nothing in American media could compare at the time. Just period. It was very far ahead of its time, and for as far as I'm concerned, still is. But I'm very disconnected from a lot of the modern Dragon Ball Z stuff that's out there. There's several movies that I haven't even seen yet, but the point that I'm getting at with the subtlety is I have a direct comparison to make. Z, like if Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Z Kai are Lord of the Rings, then Dragon Ball Z is like reading the book, and Dragon Ball Z Kai is like watching the movies. Now, granted, the movies are great, don't get me wrong. And, you know, for movies, they are long movies. But unless you're like a fucking insane, like fast super reader, like, you know, I still have to get back to read the Lord of the Rings books. And even I have the appreciation for the fact of what they are. There's a lot of detail and a lot of subtlety that gets lost in translation. The experience of reading the books, plural, very different from watching the movie, right? Like you can mainline the movie, all three movies, get the story out of the way, get the point, you know? Just jam it in there. Or you can really appreciate the ride and take your time. There's no rush. Sometimes you have to do things at your own pace. Dragon Ball Z is like reading the Lord of the Rings books. Dragon Ball Z Kai is like watching the movies. You're going to get the point across pretty fast, but something's missing. And it's very hard to put words to whatever quality it is that is missing in that translation. I'll keep this a short one. That's what I've been thinking about before I go to bed right now, so now you can think about it too. Think about putting this microphone correctly in front of my face also. Goddamn. Peace.